Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Talk, Listen, and Discuss. I want to give you a very warm welcome here to my channel and thank you for tuning in. Let's go ahead and jump into this article that I came across, and it's called Overboard or Overlooked, and the source for this is the Freelance Star. It comes out of Fredericksburg, Virginia, and it was published on a Friday, March 27th, 1998. And again, the title is Overboard or Overlooked by Norman Serphos or Serphos, Serphos is the last name, an Associated Press writer. This is the article. Willemstad, Curacao. Search planes flew over the Caribbean and federal agents combed a cruise ship for a Virginia woman who disappeared from the vessel. Amy L. Bradley, 23, of Chesterfield County, was vacationing with her parents and brother on Royal Caribbean Cruise Line's Rhapsody of the Seas when she was reported missing early Tuesday as the ship neared Curacao, a Dutch-owned island north of Venezuela. Bradley, a trained lifeguard, may have fallen from the balcony of the family's cabin on the ship's eighth deck, Netherlands Antilles Coast Guard Lieutenant, I can't say that name, said yesterday. So the Antilles Coast Guard Lieutenant said that they believed, or at the time it was believed that she fell off, may have fallen off overboard the ship. The ship was 10 miles outside Willemstad at the time. Bradley's mother last saw her asleep on a chair on the balcony, said her uncle, John Noblin. Now, that is what I really wanted to share from this article. So close to the time that this happened, we're already seeing several versions of this story being told. So, the Amy Bradley's uncle, and I believe this is Ivy Bradley's brother-in-law, is saying here that it was the mom who last saw her asleep on a chair. Now, he could have been misinformed, but this is the thing. I cannot find where this article was corrected. And the reason that's important is because an Associated Press writer published this article. And that is huge because for an AP writer and the publication itself, for it not to have retracted that, to have corrected that piece of information, if it was indeed Amy's dad that saw her last, that would have been done. That should have been done. I'm going to keep researching to see if I find that retraction somewhere. I have sent an email. I'm going to send another email to see if I can get an answer on if there was ever a retraction, a correction made for that. But until now, we're going to, or at least I'm going to take the leap that the AP writer was told by the uncle, and the AP writer did his due diligence to make sure that it was understood it was the mom who last saw Amy and not the dad. Okay, so relatives initially thought Bradley had gone for something to eat, but she never returned. They don't believe she fell overboard because she was afraid of heights and likely wouldn't have leaned over the rail, Noblin said. That's another thing. She wouldn't have leaned over the rail. So there is a comment, and in several interviews where Bradley, Amy's brother, mentions that Amy was so afraid of the rails, was so afraid of the ocean, and in some other instances, heights, that she would not go near the rail. She wouldn't even touch it, much less look over it or, put herself in harm's way. But if you watched my previous videos, you will see where I read that in the interview, sorry, you will see where I saw in the interview where Kat, one of Amy's ex-girlfriends, mentions that they went bungee jumping. Now, I know that the pushback was, but Amy was scared of the ocean. She wasn't scared of heights. She was scared of both. So she also was someone who lived on the wild side, who was very edgy. So I can see while the family thought she was scared of heights and the ocean, if we could get anybody to just push them a little bit and cite instances where, yes, she was afraid. We mostly are all afraid of heights. And a lot of people, myself included, when I went on my first cruise, I was very nervous about the thought of being on a cruise ship out in the middle of nowhere in a big body of ocean and wondering if there was any chance I could fall over. I remember asking that to several people, and I remember the people that had gone on cruises, giving me insurance that no, that wasn't that wasn't likely to happen. So that is why I'm saying that yes, I understand what the family has said, but that is a common fear of most of us. Most of us aren't comfortable with heights. Nobody's ever going to say, "Oh, I'm so happy to be so high up above the earth. I feel so safe and sound." Nobody really ever says that. It's part of that fear that kind of adds to the excitement of any ride, any kind of adventure we take, things like that. But we do it anyway because it's part of the experience. Same thing with the ocean. Amy apparently did get in the ocean. Her family has stated that they went into the ocean. They took Amy into the water with them, and however you want to dice that, she did do it. I don't care if she was on somebody's back or not. She did get into the water. So it is understandable that she was afraid of it, had a fear of it, but that doesn't mean that because she had a fear of it, that something other had to happen. That doesn't follow, that doesn't make sense because she went bungee jumping. So apparently she was able to get over her fear even when she was sober. So imagine with all the drinking, with all the fatigue, any way you want to put it out there, why then do we suddenly think that she may not have had some kind of wild streak, a bug in her ear, anything like that, or that could have helped kind of play out some scenario where she may have accidentally fallen overboard or somehow found herself in a position to where she went overboard, anything like that. So that's where I also wanted to state that um the family, what they're presenting, I understand what they're saying, but it doesn't mean that just because of that doesn't happen. Okay, so let me get back to the article, and I'm going to go ahead and repeat that paragraph. Relatives initially thought Bradley had gone for something to eat, but she never returned. They don't believe she fell overboard because she was afraid of heights and likely wouldn't have leaned over the rail, Noblin said. He said the sliding door to the balcony was open. The only scenario that makes sense is that she was in a corridor alone and somebody grabbed her, Noblin said. But I don't agree with that either. Yes, I understand the family wants to believe that because they're wanting to believe there's some chance that Amy is still with them, still out there to be found and not left behind in the ocean, drowned and is not going to be recovered. I see that leap being taken because I'm pretty sure that's the leap most of us would want to take if we were in that position. I've always said that. As a mother, I'm pretty sure that's where my mind would go. But that doesn't mean that the only scenario that makes sense, that's the only scenario that makes sense because I think most people not attached to the situation would say, oh, then she fell overboard. I don't think anybody's first thought would have been she was kidnapped, she was trafficked, anything like that. I think most people would say, we can't find her. She's not in the ship. She must have fallen overboard. She had been drinking. A lot of people fall overboard when they've been drinking. They get a little bit more careless or they get despondent from drinking the water. There is and I'm going to get into this in that video that I'm telling you about. There's something about being out in the middle of the ocean where there is a condition where people get hypnotized by the water. Now, I'm going to find that, I'm going to present it, use it, think of it, consider it for anything you will, but it is a condition and it is out there. Okay, so and then it also goes on to say, but FBI agents searched the cruise ship yesterday in St. Martin, another Dutch Caribbean island. FBI spokeswoman Sarah Lima said the agency had no evidence of foul play. Again, the FBI did come on board late. There is a good chance that if there had been evidence, the cleaning people took it. And I'm going to go ahead and insert here, although I was going to save it for later. I can't help myself. Have you ever had a cleaning crew be that efficient that they went and scrubbed everything completely 100% clean? So much so that if there had been a very slap in your face um, kind of like altercation, they took care of every little bit. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is that people say, yeah, the FBI got on there late. Things could have been covered up. Things could have been cleaned, things like that. But let's think about this. What makes more sense? That in that short of a time, every person that could have admitted to something nefarious was silenced. That any place that the person probably could have been seen on camera was taken offline, and that just everything could have been scrubbed clean. Or that she did go over, and that's why we see no signs of a struggle or of caught on camera or more eyewitnesses out there. And that's why the FBI didn't have any evidence of foul play. There would be less evidence that could be discovered if she indeed had accidentally fallen overboard from her balcony or fallen overboard from her balcony than if she had left the room willy-nilly, going along hallways and other areas where there could or where there may or may not have been a camera, where there may or may not have been eyewitnesses. These are the kinds of things. It's more likely that somebody would have seen her, noticed her. Again, that we're going to read an article later, and maybe not in this video, but in another video, where the mom again is saying how proud she was because people were taking such notice of Amy. But that actually turned out to be a bad thing, they believe, because one of those people who took notice may have been the person who abducted her. So again, why is Amy so recognizable and so adored and admired, but nobody saw her except for two girls who are now current interviews will say they couldn't confirm the time that they saw her, but they believe they saw her about that time. So only the two girls that were out on the deck with no other people walking around at that time, even though if Amy went to go get something to eat, you would think that she would have gone to the main dining area where you can wake up and go get your breakfast with all the other people. So why did not all the other people who are out there getting food at that time see her either? For those of you who've been on cruises, think about it. There are always people. As soon as the food is put out, people are going there. So why didn't more people see her on the cruise ship around common areas? Think about that. Okay, so Bradley's parents and brothers sent her picture to newspapers in Curacao and neighboring Aruba. The Rhapsody of the Seas, which is carrying about 2,000 passengers, actually closer to 3,000 by current numbers, was to end its 1 week cruise in San Juan, Puerto Rico tomorrow. Bradley was a graduate of Longwood College and was to begin a new job at a computer programming firm on Monday, Noblin said. Again, a computer programming firm. It really was a small family-owned consulting business. Again, the only reason why I present that is because it seems that we're dealing with a person who was going to a new apartment, which most of us at one time in our life had a new apartment, especially at that age, was going back to a new dog, which most of us in our lifetime have gotten a new pet, and we're going to a new job, which was made to sound like something a lot more fabulous than it really was. It was a family member, asking her to become or hiring her to be an office assistant for their company. And the reason I say that is because think about the people who work for smaller family-owned companies. Now, are those three things in and of themselves so high-powered that you would think that somebody who was feeling very low, down and out wouldn't consider something while they're, in an altered state of mind that could harm themselves? Because of those things, yes, they're nice and they're great, but that doesn't mean in and of themselves that the person wasn't considering self-harm. Okay? I mean, yes, they were all good things, but were they that outside of good that most of us have experienced? No, it wasn't going to work for a Fortune 500 company having the rarest dog on the world, um, having the most luxurious apartment, just having a lifestyle fit for a king or queen. It was not going to that. It was going to a normal day to day with some new things that were happening. So I don't mean to take away from the experience. I'm not saying that it wasn't something positive. I'm just saying, was it enough? Was it enough to say, okay, this girl was not considering self-harm, or this girl was not reckless, or this girl was so cautious, or whatever those other alternatives are that she would not 100% not have put herself in harm's way, some way, shape, or form because of all these things. And I say no, because most of us have been put in those scenarios. And I'm telling you that that does not prevent you from putting yourself in harm's way, nor if we were really down and out and in an altered state of mind, would it prevent something bad from happening to us. So I don't know if that makes sense. I'm just thinking out loud. And if it doesn't make sense, please let me know in the comments and I'll see if I can clarify it a little bit better. Okay. Okay, so we are all torn to pieces, said Bradley's aunt, Marianne Noblin, who lives in Prince George County. We have never experienced anything that is this horrible. People don't understand it until it is their family, how horrifying this can be. And I exactly 100% understand that. And I hope that none of us on here, our families, ever have to go through that. It was her niece's first cruise, Noblin said. Okay, so again, an article that's very close to the time that the incident happened, that that Amy disappeared. And now we're starting to see that the family is presenting what they believe happened to the press. And in it, we still haven't gotten what we have until this day. They're not saying who they believe did it. And I understand why they're not. But at the same time, with what we've been given, if you're somebody reading the article at this time, I think I think most people would be kind of confused as to why the family thinks it has to be an abduction and not that she just went overboard. So I do think that the title says it all, overboard or overlooked. But what I don't believe that we could get at this time is why the family believed what they believed, as well as all the post activity that happens that kind of muddies the water. I mean, probably not the best way to put that, but in my opinion. And I do think that the more stuff you start throwing at the situation, it confuses it instead of clarifying it. When I think that there's a lot of other things to be looked at that would take you into a more direct path of understanding what really happened. Okay, so again, just reading another article I found interesting that could help us in our deliberation that's going to happen in the next video on what happened to Amy Bradley. Is she still alive? Was she alive at one point and no longer is? Did she just take off and decide that this life wasn't for her? She's going to go create a new life. Was she abducted? Was she trafficked? All of these things we're going to really visit strongly in the next video, I think. And the reason I say that is I came across another article and I'm trying to see if I want to like insert it in that video, or if I want to read it standalone like I did today with this article. Again, I'm going to put the link to this article in this video description and tell me what you think. Tell me, have you seen other videos out there? Have you read other articles? Is there any new information that's making you think differently, or has it supported what you thought all along? I'd be interested in knowing that. Let me know if there's anything you want me to really specifically address in the next video. I want you to have ownership in how these topics are played out. Well, okay, thank you for joining me. I feel like I haven't seen you in a long time. I know I dumped 3 videos on you last week. I hope you've had a chance to go through them. If not, be a great time before you get to see what I come up on the final consensus, because that's going to be a lot of nitty gritty too. And again, I'm just happy you're here. So please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and don't forget to add a comment. Again, all opinions are welcomed here. It doesn't have to be pretty, but again, don't be threatening. And I hope to see you back here soon. Again, I'm really trying my hardest with the workload I've had to get these videos out, edited, and presented to you in a very palatable way. But until my workload gets a little bit more, I don't know, easier to schedule, these will start coming out at certain times. I promise you, just be patient with me and we'll see months on out how far we've gone together, okay? Well, thank you. You'll have a very good night. And again, until next time, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and God bless you. See you later. Bye.